Hello everybody. I don't know if I'm actually streaming or not here, so I'm trying to find out. We shall see. Yeah, it looks like I am. Looks like I am not, because it's not time. Oh no, we'll see. Oh, goody. All right, I am. So, hello. So, my name is Lucas, and I wanted to kind of talk about an app idea for the street epistemology community. Now, there might be other uses for this, but I want to talk specifically about this app. So, I'm going to give a little bit of background. For those of you who don't know, but probably anybody watching today would know, somebody later may not. Anyway, what is street epistemology? Street epistemology is this conversation technique, if you will, where people are engaging others about deeply held beliefs in a really courteous, open manner. We're not going in, it's not a debate, we're not providing information, we're not arguing, we're talking with people over social media, in person, whatever, and we're basically saying, you know, do you have a deeply held belief that sort of informs who you are on a daily basis and maybe makes you act a particular way or what have you? And if so, what is it? And can we discuss how you came to that belief, how you came to that understanding? And we're not so interested in, say, the data of it. We're interested in the method in which you formed that belief. So street epistemology comes from epistemology, which is sort of a way of knowing things. So in the street epistemology community, there are people who are going out, as I said, and having these talks with strangers. What happens is, generally, is you could go up to a person and you'll say, hello, you know, my name is Lucas, would you like to have a discussion about a deeply held belief for, say, 5, 10, whatever minutes? And if the person says yes, then there's some data you want to start collecting. First of all, obviously, you know, I won't get into the whole technique, so we'll skip the rapport and all that kind of thing, but there's some data that you want to start collecting. Obviously, you want to get the person's name. You want to understand what their deeply held belief is, and you want to set the parameters for the time. So I have this this sort of idea for an app which will help people who are doing street epistemology log those interactions. And we'll do I'll show you some of my drawings. All right, so right now I'm calling this project Seastar. I don't know why. And in project Seastar, there are some main points. And let me grab my notes real quick. The main points of this are: wrong one. Okay, so the goal is to facilitate communications privately between the interlocutor, that is the person that, okay, so in this conversation, both members are interlocutors, let's be clear about that. But for the purposes of this conversation, the person that you approach, I'll be calling the interlocutor, or the IL, and the person who initiated the conversation as the SE. The one who's, say, walking up to the stranger and saying, hey, would you like to have a chat? That person we'll call the SE. And what we want to do is facilitate the conversation right there, in situ, if you will. So I want to be able to record the person's name. I want to be able to record their claim. And I want to set a timer, because what we don't want to do is, if you just say, hey, do you want to have a talk? People are like, gee, this could go a long time, right? So generally what we do as part of the technique is we set a time limit. We'll say we'll just talk for 5 minutes. At the end of that 5 minutes, we can either bail as friends or keep going if you want. But we'll set a timer. That way we both get out of this, based on the timer if we want to. The other thing that the app should do is provide an accurate log for SE interactions. When did we talk? When did the talk start? Who did I talk to? What did we talk about? I can write any notes. And according to this screen, as you can see, I, as the SE, who will be looking at my phone, have typed in the name Jane. I have a drop-down list, perhaps, of the claims. I believe in a Christian God. And this would be configurable. And we'd set a timer. How long do we want to run this talk for? Maybe 5 minutes. And then all we have to do is click begin the conversation. Now, on a screen as simple as that, I would have some key things to remember. Rapport. Remember your rapport. Talk about something other than the claim first. Get to know each other. Smile. Remember to be open to being wrong. Repeat their name back to them so that it sticks in your craw. Those kind of things. Find out why do they believe. How do they form this belief? Those kind of things. The other thing that the app might do is actually record either in audio or audio and video these conversations and then upload the talk later. Now, I'm not looking to do this right away. That will probably be an add-on feature, but we'll see. We will see about that. I'm going to switch over to the YouTube view so I can see if there's anybody here. Oh, hello, Anthony. Glad that you're here. How can you join? Let me see what a good way to do that is. I'm going to go to appear.in and see if I have an account. I think I do. I guess I don't. We'll make one real quick. Okay. I guess I don't have one. This must be new. I don't know. Any ideas? Could do a Hangout. They still do that? You better switch to the right account. I will what will I do? I will put this in the live chat. There we go. What happened to that screen? Wrong screen. So if anybody wants to join, there is a link in the there's a link in the live chat. Well, so I am sort of, I did want to describe the app, Anthony, but I'm totally open to information or to some suggestions about this. So if you have ideas, things that we can look at, that'd be great. Let me don't think anybody has joined yet. Maybe no one will, I don't know. Okay, so we won't worry about that for right now. If anybody comes, we will deal with that later. Alright. It's going to look pretty weird, I think. Okay, so anywho, let's get back to this thing. Alright, so last thing is the app, I think. So one of the problems with street epistemology is we don't have any data. We don't know if this works. And one of the things that I'd really like the app to do is to sort of aggregate this data. So I'll show you the next screen and we can talk about how we do that. So the next screen would be like mid-talk. So after I press the begin button, as we can see, I would have a countdown timer. So this shows me that, you know, I've got 4 minutes and 38 seconds left in the talk. I'm talking to Jane. Her claim is God is good, and I have set her initial confidence at some particular level. At 90% or whatever it is that she said was the right thing. Oh, Anthony's here. Okay. Hi, Anthony. Let me switch over here.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. I hope that this is making it onto YouTube. We'll see. I'm not a sophisticated broadcaster yet, so I don't know what I'm doing necessarily.
It's really confusing, the whole Google Hangouts thing. It's never been easy.
Yeah, yeah, certainly can be.
Yeah, I didn't know if from your title, I thought you were looking for like a discussion with ideas and stuff. I didn't know if you just wanted to vamp like you were doing, or do the Hangouts. So I'm fine jumping off of this and just listening to your ideas if you want.
Well, I'm actually glad to have you here. Obviously, as the most prolific SEer, you know, I'd love to see you use an app like this. I don't know if it really fits into your workflow, but I'm absolutely open to the ideas. And no, I didn't just want to talk, but you know, I didn't know who was going to show up, so I kind of had to start that way.
Do you want more people to join in? Like,
I'd be happy to have whoever would like to talk about this. Yeah.
Would you be willing to like share the link in the post that you made in the group?
Yeah, absolutely. I put it in the live chat.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, so Alex asks if there are any ideas for taking notes in the app, and yes, there is. I want to kind of show that also. So I think what I'll do, Anthony, if it's all right, is I'll go through these screens, kind of show you what I had in mind, and then hopefully we can talk about anything I missed or other ideas, you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, so let me switch back to this.
Is there a way that you can paste? Actually, never mind. I want to see the live chat. Let me mute that though.
I don't know how to do that.
No, I got it.
You got it. Okay.
Yeah, I clicked the link that you had in your Facebook post.
Ah, very good. Okay, so again, the data that we want to collect is, I think it would be good to collect some initial confidence. So when we ask Jane how strongly she feels that God is good, we have a slider maybe of the 0 to 100% kind of confidence. Now some people don't use this at all, and that's fine. I think in the options we make that kind of a show hide feature, but it would be great to get that data. So she says, well, I'm 90% sure, so we slide that up to 90% sure. and of course we have the screen where the timer is running, and then we can set her final confidence. So at the end, we kind of want to assess in the conversation, did we help lower a person's confidence in a bad idea? And if we did, then maybe we want to set the final confidence as a metric that we can look at over time. So maybe these screens don't look exactly like this, because one of the things that I know for me would be good is if I was looking at a screen like this. So somebody who's really well versed, like Anthony in SE, he might only need to collect the data. He knows how to manage these conversations and that kind of stuff. But for me, I would like to have the flow chart showing. I would like to have the ability to, as Alex suggested, take notes. So there's a few things that I think would be good. A few different tools, and one thing I'm really not good at in terms of app design is the actual user interface layout. So some help with that would be great. Okay, so the next screen is, I guess I don't have the very next screen. All right, so the next screen was a wrap-up screen. So after I press in talk, there's another screen that says basically that shows our initial claim, who I'm talking to, what their final confidence was, what our talk time was, and then gives me the ability to enter notes. Now this app is, in my imagination, it's what's called a progressive web app. So it's an app that you don't have to install on your phone. Just when you go to the website, it can be installed automatically. And so that gives you the ability to use it offline as it's an app, say you don't have any internet connection. And you'll just simply enter the notes on that screen, and then when you press save, then you get this next screen which says, "Thank you, Jane. Go to whatever the domain name is / and some unique ID that's hard to guess but easy for a person to remember." And it could be a string of characters like XB175, or it might be like 2 words like /sugar glider or something like that, to follow up and learn more. And then there could also be a QR code that your interlocutor can take a picture of. That could be scanned and take them directly to the website with the post conversation questionnaires and things like that, and we'll talk about what that looks like. So that's the in situ side. When we get to this next thing, I figure there's obviously going to be a screen with a log, who we talked to. We talked to Jane about God on the 1st, we talked to Bill about politics on the 30th, and Mary Treasure, Fred, aliens, and so on. And so to just, this is my list of recent talks, and then to go into any one of them, I would just click or long press or swipe or whatever that is. And then when I get into that screen, here's the detail of the conversation. Jane, the date that I talked to her, how long we talked, initial confidence, final confidence, the notes I wrote, and then I can rate my own performance. Like, how well do I think I did on this talk? And I can set a slider for that. I can rate how open and honest, maybe, that I think the interlocutor was. And I can type any extra notes. And perhaps there's additional information for those of us who are recording these conversations and uploading them to other social media sites. It might be a good idea to be able to go into this app, check, hey, I uploaded it to YouTube, and here's the URL, SoundCloud, iTunes, whatever. And then there might be some other things like the interlocutors ask me to obscure their image, to blur them out, or to not point the camera at them, or there might be another button that says do not upload this talk. So ways for me to manage what exactly happened in that conversation and what I should do next. So another I think important part of the app is online messaging. Now Jane, after she's had the talk, I'm going to kind of back up a little bit. Okay, so this is the website sort of view of this. When Jane goes to whatever the domain is /xb175, our unique ID, it'll say, hello, did you have a talk with SE guy? That was my name in this scenario. And she can say yes. And then maybe there's some what is this text, that kind of thing. When she clicks yes, and again, I want to talk about all this stuff, it would be a note, and it would say, hi Jane, thank you for talking to me about your God belief. I really value your time. I'm thankful you stopped to talk with me. Would you mind rating our conversation? Do you want to send me a note? Perhaps there is the ability for her to rescind her video and audio rights, or to, I don't know, we'll talk about those kind of things, but some options that she might have. And of course, I think another important thing is if the interlocutor has thought more about it and they want to re-engage with the street epistemologist, well, it might be pretty hard to track somebody down at the park or the mall or wherever they were found. So let's have a messaging system that Jane can interact with the SE, and she hasn't had to reveal any of her personal information. She hasn't given up an email address or a phone number or anything. All we know is that she's the only person in the world who has this unique ID, and we have her name, and she's self-identified, yes, I'm Jane, and I talked to SE guy on this date, and now we can have a conversation. And then, of course, depending on her claim and her initial confidence and final confidence levels, then we can start giving her links to support in the community. That maybe that's RFR, maybe that's skepticism, or maybe that's the Democratic Party. I'm just kidding. Maybe it's anything. But we can figure out all kinds of things to send Jane so that she can sort of grow in what I would hope is her matrix moment, whoa, that's how I felt when I first saw SE. What did I just see? That was amazing. And hopefully that's what Jane would do eventually. So that's the overview, and now I will switch back to the Hangout view so that we can talk about this stuff. Hi Alex, thanks for joining.
Hey guys, nice to meet you.
Hello. All right, that was a good overview. A couple things that jumped out to me that I noticed right away is that, number one, it seems like you're assuming that most people that would be using the app would be having face-to-face conversations on the street with strangers. And I might ask you to reconsider, or at least consider, how many people actually do that compared to the other ways of doing SE.
Yes.
That might be the first thing I'd ask you to consider. And I got several other things, but that's, yeah, what do you think about that?
Well, so I think you're right, and I think so one of the things about the app is that I think the timer is configurable, where maybe, because as you said, maybe we're not doing this in the street, and I just want to record that I had a conversation with my dad, or whatever. So yes, I think the timer is a kind of show hide if I want to thing, and I don't have to use it necessarily that way. If you have any ideas of what that workflow would be, I'd love to hear about that.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead, Alex.
Oh, sorry. Perhaps when you initialize the app, it gives you the option to choose between a face-to-face conversation or just to manually log a previous conversation.
That's a good idea.
That's a very good idea, yeah. I like that.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think of it as a practitioner who would be on the street. For some people, I think they might take a little comfort knowing that there's an app that's kind of guiding them through the steps. hey, I've got this object. It's a little bit more socially comfortable if you can glance at your phone when you're out in public, as opposed to like talking to people. So
yeah,
having the app there might encourage more people maybe to go out and try it. If they can say, hey, I've got this app and I'm kind of asking questions, and everything's sort of right here on my hand. You mind if we have a conversation? It could give people that comfort.
That's a really great idea. That's a fabulous idea.
Well, this is more of an observation, I guess, but then I think there will be some people who would say, well, it's not even necessary. Like, I've got a timer, or I don't even want to time it. It's just one more thing to handle. I'm uncomfortably juggling my notepad and now pulling out this phone, and oh shit, I forgot to turn off notifications on my phone now. My phone's ringing. It just might add a layer of complexity to something that's already a little challenging.
Right.
So, I like Alex's option of ditching the platform until after the conversation and going in and saying, let me start jotting this stuff down. Now,
sure.
It seems also is that you're kind of looking at it from, I want to get an equal amount of information from both people. And I got to tell you, I think it would be uncomfortable after a conversation to say, unless you made it part of the whole thing from the start. Like, before you go, do you mind jotting down some information, or let me give you this code so that you can enter more data in later. That's going to be the trick, I think, is you're going to probably get a lot of SE practitioners that will fill it out. Yeah. I don't know how much input that you get from, as you define it, the interlocutor in the field at the moment.
Right. Well, I think that's fair, but I think so. The idea is that how at the end of your conversations, you obviously tell your interlocutors, "Hey, if you want to get in touch with me, here's my email address." That kind of stuff. Obviously, you could do that, and that's perfectly fine. That's a perfectly fine thing to do. But the trouble there is that. If I want to then interact with you, I kind of have to reveal more information. Now I have to, and by revealing my email address to you, if I want to email you, I'm kind of giving you access to my social media life, right?
Yes.
As soon as you know my email, then I can start finding out about you. So so certainly I think it makes sense to still give out a business card with an email address, but for those who wouldn't want to email you just based on the privacy issue alone, I think them having some way to come back and re-engage with you is good. And maybe the questionnaire doesn't exist. Maybe you don't show it until some number of interactions later. It just I suppose it all depends on I guess I don't know what it depends on, but yeah, it can be whatever we want it to be.
Yeah. So here's my thought on that. It might be a good idea to anyone that wants to conduct SE. They get the app, they they create an account, and they're assigned a unique identifier. So I can have a whole bunch of cards printed up with my code. Okay, 53122. And that's me. And then this card that that I hand out to people says like, hey, I'd love to get some feedback after the talk. It's sometime within the next week. Could you please go to this website, tiny URL, blah blah blah, bit.ly, whatever.
Yeah. And
they enter in the code, which identifies me, and then some suffix that's unique to them. So you give me a bank of numbers 0001 through 1000, for example.
Yeah.
And then I'm uniquely issuing those numbers to people as I'm having those talks. And I might not even remember, like, I'm not writing down that I just, well, maybe I guess I could. Like, hey, I gave Jane 0003. I'm really interested to see what she comes up with. I might make a little private note to myself. But I mean, after the conversation, I can sit down and record my notes, my thoughts about 0003.
Right.
And then, hey, maybe a week later, we get a ping, and she enters in some data, and then you can match the two records.
Yeah, so I considered doing that. where there's a bank of numbers or a set of keywords or something like that, and that is something that we could do. But what if? So we're saying that, okay, let's say you don't want to use the app in situ, but you do want to use the URL part of it. You want the interlocutor to be able to come back. Using Alex's idea, if we're just logging the talk, I could just very easily say, thank you very much, Jane. Hang on 1 second. Let me give you a URL to go to. Type in Jane, hit log, and it would give you the information that you need to give her, and you can go back and fill in the notes and stuff later whenever you want. But that will give her the information she needs right away to get back in touch with you. And then there's not the concern about having abandoned records and that kind of thing. So that's kind of the way that I had imagined it, is that I'm going to give them a QR code right away that says, take a picture of this or scan it or whatever, and then this URL, if you ever want to talk to me again, we can do it right here, and you can be completely anonymous.
One question.
Sure.
Remind me again, sorry if you've already gone over this part and I just missed it.
Yeah.
If the interlocutor goes to this URL and logs some information, what is the scope? What all are they able to manipulate and add in and type out and put in themselves?
Well, so far, I'm only thinking right now that, okay, I think there's two things. First, let's say I'm a street epistemologist, and I don't have a website, and I want to have some kind of public profile out there for interlocutors. For one, when they go to this URL, they will see all that information. My name was Lucas. Here's my other talks. These are the things I'm interested in. Whatever. Here's a blog. Whatever. It could be any of those things.
Enough for me, Lucas.
Sorry?
I don't know if that's just me or not.
I didn't hear what you said. You can't hear me? Is that what you said?
Is Lucas breaking up for you, Alex?
No, it sounds good to me.
Okay.
Anthony's breaking up. You're breaking up, Anthony.
I hope you can hear me.
Okay.
I can hear him.
Okay, good. All right. So, but the main purpose, to get straight to the point, Alex.
Breaking up for me really bad.
I'm breaking up really bad. I wonder if I have too many windows open or something.
You sound fine to me. So,
okay.
Anthony, is your end okay?
All right. Okay, so the main purpose, though, is just, I think all that she can do is maybe ask, or maybe rate a conversation, and she can add a note that I will get. She can start a conversation, basically, with by messaging me. So you mentioned something about, this organization or this particular fact. Can we talk more about that kind of thing? And then you can start a dialogue based on that.
Okay, I understand. Gotcha.
So I will show you. So here is an idea. If you're watching the YouTube thing, here's an idea.
Yep.
About what the, so after she says, did you have a talk with SE guy, and clicks yes, it might be something like this. It says, hi Jane, there's a message from me. It gives her the ability to send a message back to me, and then there's some links for her then about what is street epistemology, why do we do this, here's my channel, here's some resources based on the claim that you made. That kind of thing.
Gotcha.
Can you still hear me, or can you hear me now, Anthony?
Oh, I think he rebooted his Hangouts.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. Keep going. Yeah, so that's that's it in a nutshell. That's really all I have. I love the idea of doing a log only or doing a live talk. Anthony brings up a really good point. Like he has a certain set of tools that he uses, and I kind of thought about virtualizing those tools. Like for me, I have a Galaxy Note, and I do like to write on my phone. So I would like to be able to take notes in the way that Anthony takes notes on his whiteboard. Obviously, you'd have the timer running, and then I thought, well, okay, so maybe there's some virtual Tic Tacs or some visual aids for the Ferrari experiment, those kinds of things. Different tools that you can add in to really make the app useful in situ. And I realize that it's extremely niche-y in that case, but I know for me, if I had that tool, I would feel more comfortable engaging people because the way that I do it is I ambush people. I walk up to people with a camera and say, hey, can we talk? Which is a little different than most people do it. I think most people nowadays they kind of hang out in one place and wait for people to approach them and begin a talk. So it'd be easier for me if I had something like this where, especially with the flow chart and the other resources that I would need to help guide me through the conversation and the notes and that kind of thing, that would be really helpful to me.
I think it's great for data collection. That's something the SE community really needs. So if nothing else, I would use it just to assist with data collection.
Yeah, I love that, and I think I want to make that optional, so that if somebody doesn't want to share data, that they don't have to, and that we won't go scrape it or anything.
Yeah, mostly like the data on what topics come up most, how much people's confidence shift, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I love that. And that was another thing, another good point there, was that on the interlocutor's screen, I want to have them, it would be awesome, I think, if we could have them reassess their confidence level on the claim when they come back. So, they said they were 90 when we first talked, then, as an example, their confidence fell to 60, but then when they came back, were they stronger, were they weaker, can they reassess the strength of the claim at that point? I think that'd be really cool.
Oh, Anthony's back.
Hello, Anthony, can you hear us?
Yeah, I was just having some internet issues here.
Good.
I missed a lot of that, sorry.
I don't think we opened up anything new, Anthony. So obviously this app, I think what Alex said, and your point is well taken, Anthony, that if we make it geared towards the video users, that would kind of be a miss, because there's just so many people who are not doing that. Mm-hmm. But doing this log only kind of thing that's a great idea. I think that's absolutely going to happen. Any other points, notes, anything you guys want to discuss?
Yeah, I think it would be, you might get more interlocutor participation if you gave them whatever, it's a QR code or a link or a code or whatever, to a web front end, rather than requiring them to install an app on their phone.
Yeah, it would be.
To give us feedback. Okay.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah, it would be a web front end.
Mm-hmm. Now, I don't know how that would work if you wanted back and forth communication between the people. Would that still be a secure front end for them? Would they bookmark that page and then they'd be able to see the back and forth exchange and kind of?
Yes.
What were you thinking there?
So that part is a little bit tricky. My idea is that after you save the log, that's when we would generate the unique URL, and maybe it's a code, maybe it's a unique phrase or something easy to remember, but whatever it is, when the interlocutor goes to the website and gets to when they get to this screen, which is sort of I'm thinking the home screen. So we've said, let me back up one. Okay, so, hello, did you have a talk with SE guy? And when you click yes, you get to this next screen that says, hi Jane, thanks for talking to me. Maybe we do the rating, whatever, but there is a place here for her to, and this is the web interface, there's a place here for her to message me, add a note, ask a question, whatever. And then there is just like a regular chat log, which I should have a picture of somewhere. Let me see if I can find it. Yeah, right here. So it would be a regular chat log on both the web interface and the progressive web app, which, by the way, does support notifications. So when Jane comes to the website and enters in a message for you, you'll get that notification pretty much instantly that Jane is trying to talk to you.
Oh, that's cool. Okay.
That is good.
Yeah, I like the idea of having a secure, anonymous platform between people so that they're not revealing a Facebook name or email address or whatever. That's good.
I think that is important. So I think the other cool thing about it is, so you mentioned that, adding a phone into the mix for your workflow, Anthony, might be, is probably not a good idea, because you're used to the way that you work. For me, though, I think I might prefer to work off the phone. Mm-hmm. And with this progressive web app, I think we can do things like put the phone in do not disturb and that kind of thing when we do that.
Yeah, I could even whip out the phone while I'm doing my post-conversation recap. I could be completing the entry, but also showing people who are watching the video that I'm doing that.
Yeah,
that might get more people to get interested in it.
Right.
Recording it, saving it.
Yeah. I use my phone as the timer, so this would easily incorporate into my personal workflow.
That's awesome.
You spend a lot of time talking about their confidence that it's true. I hope there's a way it would be good if there was a way to record the claim being made, like the claim that was made or discussed. Mm-hmm. Their reasons why. And any methods maybe that surfaced during the talk as well.
Excellent. Thank you. I'm so glad you're here. So yeah, I do absolutely have that. So we're saying, when you set up the conversation, there will be a drop-down list of the claims. Now you said that you would like to see.
The what is the claim? The reasons, or the justifications, is the why. What were the main reasons they presented for thinking that that's true?
Do you see that as being a type-in thing, or would you like to see an array of checkboxes, or something else?
Maybe to start, it would just be a free-flowing field, just so you can get a sense of the data that's coming in, and then maybe nest the field. So if the claim is karma, you would serve, I guess I don't know, you have a free-flowing field for that, but also some pat answers. God's real, karma exists, and then maybe you're filtering out the reasons in the next field based off the what that was entered in the previous one.
Oh, great idea, yeah.
But that might be hard to build out. And it's tough, right? Like you want standardization, but you also don't want to restrict the user too much and take a lot of time. Like I don't want to scroll through a list of 50 whys.
Right.
And there might be 3 reason whys too, not just one.
Right.
Yeah. Perhaps there could be just a few checkboxes of the most common answers, and then we also have a field for typing it.
Beautiful. Yeah, and then a button that says add, right? So you're basically adding. You can they say miracles. I add it. It adds it to the thing. Then I select prayer. I add that, and then prophecies. So
right.
I add that. So, oh shit! They didn't say miracles. It was just prayer and prophecies, and I can delete the miracle one.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I think this particular principle should also apply to like the claims. We should have like a set of the most common claims, like God, karma, etc. Then also have a field for typing in special outliers, oddball claims that we haven't encountered before, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. If I can back you up a second, Anthony, to the method. Help me understand. Help me understand what that data might look like.
Yeah. So somebody says, "I think God is real." That's the what. That's the claim. You say, well, why do you think that that's the case? What's the biggest reason why you think that that's true? They might say, well, I've experienced miracles. And then the how is, how did you determine that what you experienced actually was a miracle? That's the method. That's kind of the part that I'm most interested in.
Sure.
And that's where they might say, I got this feeling in my bosom after the event happened, and that was a confirmation to me that it was real. So that feeling is the method that they're using to validate that miracles justify believing that a God is real. They might say faith at that point. Faith could also be a reason.
Yeah.
It could also be a claim. I mean, faith is one of those words that it's going to transcend all 3 levels, I think. But
right.
With a free-flowing field, though, you give people the option. I have a feeling that that's true. I'm using faith that that's the case. My parents told me that that's what happened.
Okay.
So that's the method that I'm using.
Got it. Okay, so maybe what if it's one of those, like you can start typing, you type in FAI and then faith automatically shows up, that kind of thing?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so let's, if we can, I would love to get some more information about the data. Like what, since Anthony, you're way more intimately involved with SE than I am, what other kinds of data would we be interested in on the aggregate? Yeah.
The duration of the conversation, the date, approximate date maybe, the number of conversations, like is this the first one or is this the 7th one?
Right.
That might be useful. They may have never gotten around to recording it, and then they're like, oh, it's the 4th time I met with this guy, and I better start. I'm going to jump in there.
If the interlocutor is comfortable sharing this information, age of the interlocutor would be very useful.
Gender could possibly be useful too. The gender of the SEer as well as the interlocutor.
Yes.
Can we say location? Like, location doesn't have to be. I mean, it could be nice to get like a city, Johannesburg. But it could also be nice if there was like maybe a venue. Was it a park? Was it a bus? Was I in an Uber?
That's a great idea.
Initiated versus passive. Like who initiated the talk?
Okay.
That'd be good. Your general overall sense of the conversation. Did you hate it? Did you love it? Some sort of number in between. maybe. Did you spend any time thinking about the conversation afterwards?
Ooh, I love that.
Did you, I don't know how you can abbreviate this, but did you like the conversation so much you wanted to learn it? You wanted to learn it for yourself, for your own types of conversations? Did you see any value in the discussion? Might be a way of abbreviating that.
Okay.
Maybe you were kind of going there, Anthony, but their interest in learning street epistemology or learning more about street epistemology itself. Kind of a meta question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what might also be good is to ask them if they felt, if after the conversation they felt the need to discuss the conversation with somebody afterwards, and if so, who was that? Like, I'm really curious who is going to talk to their priest after I have a conversation with somebody about God. I don't know how you can narrow that, make that a quick, easy question, but
yeah. Well, somebody smarter than me hopefully will wordsmith these things, but it's really. I mean, this is so helpful to get an idea of what the data is that you are interested in. I mean, that's fabulous.
And then the belief revision part, I know that's like the first thing you were leading with, so it seems like maybe that's the most important thing to you, but I wouldn't put so much weight on it.
It's not that, I don't know if it's the most important thing to me. It's just that I really couldn't think of other data that we would be interested in. But it's a good point, because I did have this idea where we would have a screen that obviously we set the initial and final confidence levels. Are you not doing that in your talks anymore, or I know that some people don't use the scale at all, but are we not interested in that number anymore?
No, I think it's important, but I like getting a sense of where a person is numerically in the confidence that their belief is true, because it helps me decide where I need to meet them with questions.
Sure.
And then it's like, oh yeah, by the way, I should probably see where they're at now after the end of the conversation. I never regret having initiated the scale with them and getting a sense of where they're at. But if I don't do it, I'm always kicking myself.
Right.
But I don't kick myself if I forget or just opt to not do the post-conversation reassessment of their confidence.
Gotcha.
Because, mainly because I think it takes a long time for the talk to seep in and make a difference.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree, and I know I realize that when people are self-reporting their confidence level on the spot, they're not always accurate anyway. But yeah, I do like to see when somebody has a talk and they ask at the end, are you a little less confident now in this crazy idea, or that kind of thing. But I wouldn't say. Yeah, it was just the only metric I could think of.
No, I get it. Like, we want to be able to sort of measure success, but the criteria that I actually just released a video today. Like, what is a success?
That. Yeah,
it's
watch that.
Seeing a quick drop in confidence after 10 minutes. I guess at one point was a success factor to me, but now it's less important.
Yeah.
Being able to see that they were profoundly impacted by the conversation is good enough for me.
That's, to me, that is ultimately, like, I want everyone who engages in SE to kind of have the same moment I did, watching Socrates Jones, when it clicked for me what was happening, 3 years ago when you guys started doing that, I just had such a Matrix moment, like, wow, man, what? Mm-hmm. You mean I can change my mind about stuff? I can actually think about these things and reassess? Wow. I want people to have that. I mean, that's sort of my goal with street epistemology. But anywho,
yeah, it is one of the more flashy, attention-getting aspects of it, where you can see a noticeable self-reduction in confidence at the end of a short talk.
Yeah,
but I don't know. I really can't tell you what's driven that for me. But it's less important for me to see that now. There are other things that I'm more interested in noticing and hearing from them than, I guess I'm not 90%, but let's put it like maybe at a 75.
Right.
Like that's and I don't know. I have to give some thought as to what's driving that. But as far as the app concerned, hell yeah, put it in there. I suppose it can't hurt to have it in there.
Well, what are those things that you would like to see from them?
I mean, this might be something that the SEer can indicate in the app. Of observations that they picked up on from the conversation. So this might be like a post-conversation as I'm jotting down my notes for 0003.
Right.
I might note the number of times that there was a pause from them. Like they seriously took a noticeable amount of time to respond to a question that I asked.
Right.
So for a 10-minute talk, and you can come up with some interesting ratios, like you do a meta-analysis. Total number of time divided by the total number of multiporia. You might get some sort of, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if we can get to the point where we're ranking people in terms of some sort of standard, but you can do some fun things with the numbers, I guess is all I'm saying.
Yeah.
But, maybe the number of times they pause, the number of times you repeat something back to them, the number of times that you found yourself giving facts or arguing with them could be interesting to capture. It doesn't have to all be positive stuff.
Anthony, go ahead. Sorry.
I second the
Alex.
Suggestion there. I was about to also mention we should find some way to track pauses and moments of openness in general. That sounds like it might be difficult to track, but I think it's an important thing for us to figure out.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Like, what if there was a small array of 4 or 5 buttons that says pause, and you could just hit you just touch that button when they paused, or when you have repeated back to them, or if you've given them facts, or whatever other observations we want to have. That's the beauty of it, is I guess if somebody wants to go to that level, if we have the mechanism for it, they could do it, without it impacting the rest of the app, I think.
See, what you just said there, though, makes me think you're still viewing it as I'm in the moment capturing stuff in real time, and I just don't think that's a realistic way to look at how most people will probably use the app. To be clear, I completely agree with you. I recognize that most people are not going to use this live. I'm wondering, though, skip that. I think I do have it in my head that I will be using it live, and so that's why I keep going to that. And also, if most people will be jotting down their notes from conversations that they had where they're using SE over text, they won't be able to write down the number of pauses. So we should make sure that we're capturing data regardless of the venue that it happens to be. Like there might be a couple fields where if it's text-based, I can't put an entry in there.
Yeah.
Actually, that might be a question to ask them at the start, and you can filter out some of those following criteria.
That's a great idea. So when you select, log only, or just log a chat, you're gonna there's options you're not gonna have in there.
Yeah, that was gonna say.
That's a great idea. That's a great idea. I'm trying to see if I have any questions in here. So we like the idea of the conversation, yes, where the interlocutor can come back and message the SE privately.
Yes, indeed.
What about resources? So a big thing for me with street epistemology is this idea of aftercare. Like after you've had this conversation and you're sort of in that state of aporia, I'd like for my interlocutors to be able to have more information if they want it. And so I'm wondering, how can we curate, or has that content already been curated? Does somebody have that already?
No, I don't think there's a one-stop place somebody can go to figure out where to go if they're having difficulties. But maybe one of the post-conversation questions for the interlocutor would be something like, how are you, again, this needs a little delicate retouching, but how are you mentally after having had the talk? The first choice is, I'm good, dog. The second one is, it might be nice to have someone else to talk about this too.
That's a great
within my
idea.
own circle. And number 3 is, it might be nice to talk to somebody about this that's not inside my circle. Number 4 is, please put me in touch with a community of people who have gone through similar conversations. And you can escalate it even. I'm seriously contemplating hurting myself or others as a result of this discussion.
Wow, that's fabulous.
Yeah.
I love that.
My primary concern would be, let's say you have an interlocutor who's still at the 100% confidence mark that they believe in God, but they love the conversation, they want to have it again. If they come to the website and then they see a big banner for recovering from religion, that might put them off a little bit. So
right, you almost need to ask them, would you like to be assigned? Counselor is not the best word, but would you want to be assigned a docent or somebody who can contact you afterwards to do a debrief, and then that person, would reach out to them, I suppose. I don't know. I mean, is this really ever going to happen? I suppose it could. Basically, there's a human contacting them to get an assessment of where they're at. And that might even be RFR, honestly. But yeah, the name might scare some people.
Yeah, I was just thinking that too. But so in your experience, Anthony, has it ever happened? Has anyone ever gotten back to you and said, I just really messed up over this conversation?
There was one guy, yeah, where he told me that he had a breakdown in the bathroom afterwards.
Wow.
Yeah, he was envisioning hitting me with a chair, and he was going through all the stages of grief, basically.
Wow.
Yeah. But I mean, he had a way to contact me, and I could assess it, and I worked with him over the last couple years.
Right.
So,
so hopefully he's landed in a good place.
Yes, I think so.
Good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I think. I mean, I don't know how we would do that, but I guess I don't have to have all the answers right now. But I love the idea of being able to refer an interlocutor to somebody if they need or want that. So it would be great to figure out how to make that happen.
Yeah, there might be some need for an intermediate community between RFR and emerging faith and the atheist, the ex religious groups that are out there, and RFR, something that's you know, I chatted with a street epistemologist, or I met a street epistemologist, or something.
Yeah.
Some sort of community where there's people who they've just had these initial talks. They may even still be hardcore believers. You know, maybe that's the Discord server. I'm not sure,
yeah,
but there should probably be something for them to go to.
That'd be great. Any other thoughts, ideas, concerns, notes?
You mentioned capturing the audio and the video. I think that might be biting off a lot at the start.
Yeah, I certainly am not going to try to do that right away. I think recording audio is something that I would really like to have as a feature, but I'm not going to try to do that right now.
Yeah, I think I would ask yourself, Lucas, what's the 5 things that I would like to learn after studying 10,000 of these conversations? And then if, you know, once you have your list, then you add fields that help you capture the data to get to that.
Okay.
Because this thing serves lots of purposes, and one of them I think would be being able to do a meta-analysis on a large data set of conversations,
right,
to try to draw some conclusions about it. The main thing might be like the ending question: do you regret having participated in the conversation?
Yeah.
You know, was this harmful to you? That might be one of the biggest things we want to try to capture. You know, above and beyond, did you lower your confidence in your view?
Yeah.
I think the more important question is, was this a good thing for you?
Right. I like how you said that. Did you regret having this conversation?
Yeah, you might want to ask these questions on like a 0 to 10, agree to strongly disagree to strongly agree.
Yeah. No, that's great. I really appreciate you joining, and you as well, Alex. Do you have any other thoughts?
No, man. I think you're taking on a important project, and it could be a useful tool for people who are into this stuff.
I hope so. So, well, thank you again for joining me. I will just wrap up by saying what I intend to do from here forward is sort of, I'm just going to do this for fun, obviously, but I'm going to do a live stream every day about the same time, probably not on weekends, but I'll probably do a live stream every day and actually do the development on YouTube, so you guys can watch, ask questions, talk about features, you know, whatever. But I will probably do that about the same time, 10 o'clock my time, Monday through Friday, and spend an hour a day doing this, and we'll see how long it takes to make it happen.
Is there any reason why you're doing it over YouTube? Would you be open to doing it on the Discord server where there might be more people willing to listen into it?
Well, it's sort of a visual thing because I'm actually going to design and program. So I don't know that the Discord server would actually facilitate that as well, but I would certainly broadcast my audio, and I'd be happy to have the discussions there, sure.
Yeah, because I'm thinking maybe one of the moderators can create a channel just for your project, and when people see you in there, they can jump in there. And then people usually will upload images or links to stuff in the corresponding channel.
Right.
So if you did need to show something, you could just upload it there, and then people, I don't know, it's just another option to consider.
Sure.
Especially, you know, if you're planning to do it every day.
Yeah.
The Discord thing might be better. I don't know. What do you think, Alex?
I'm not actually in the Discord, actually, so I don't really use it much in general, so I don't have experience with it.
Okay.
It's you should try it, Alex. There's great people in there, lots of interesting conversation, and it's pretty active. So I mean, people really have seemed to gravitate to that, and I've really enjoyed being a part of it. Although I haven't made a whole lot of time for it, But you should join us. It's pretty cool.
I will.
Awesome. All right. Thank you so much for joining, Anthony. I appreciate your expertise, and Alex, great ideas. We'll go from there.
Okay. Take it easy.
Thank you, guys.
Take care.
Bye-bye. So, thank you for joining me. I think we will wrap this up again. I will probably be doing a live stream every day about the same time. And for those of you interested in the technical aspects of this, part of the reason I'm doing this is I want to learn more about progressive web apps, especially in-depth offline web apps. I will be writing this mainly in Laravel for the back end, the API, and the front end I don't know yet what I'll be building it on. I am happy to set up a GitHub and share the source code there if anybody wants to help or fork it or whatever. And that's that. Thank you for joining me, and hope to see you around. Thanks, and Happy New Year. Bye.